Rules of Attraction is a 2002 drom-com directed by Roger Avery, starring James Van Der Beek, Shani Sossamon, and Jessica Biel.
Don't stop. Come on.
Think it's kicking in.
Gross, dude. I only did it with her because I'm in love with you. I want to know you.
What does that mean? Nobody knows anyone else.
She's not ever gonna want to see you again.
Are you crazy? Define crazy. Deal with it.
So what do you think?
What do I think? Rock and roll.
The Rules of Attraction.
Your game, right?
Welcome back to the Cult of Film. Joining me tonight, Johnny Mulligans and Zach.
What's up?
How you guys doing? Dromcom.
Dromcom?
Wow.
It's a new title.
No, fine.
We are talking about a very interesting movie tonight, one that I definitely visited back then, and I have some ideas and opinions about that I will get into later. But Zach, can you please tell me what Johnny Mulligans Goes to College is about?
To me, it's about like a bunch of different things. Like it's about a diverse group of people in this time where you're trying to find yourself and figure out who you are, and also some of them are trying to like understand what like love is. Also, it's kind of a picture into the more affluent private type schools, you know, what those kids are up to rather than what we're doing at, you know, good old Texas State.
Right.
Like I like this movie a lot, and I really enjoyed the book.
So I saw this movie years and years ago. God, I think I must have seen this movie probably in the 20-aughts at some point, not long after it came out. And I guess I forgot I watched it. And then I watched it again. And all I could think is, now I know why I forgot.
What did he say?
This era in movie making from the late 90s through the 2000s, where you had kind of, I guess you call them coming of age movies, college theme type, like going to
your
college.
American Pie sort of things.
American Pie, yeah, we're talking American Pie, that genre of movies. Either I think Van Wilder, I think PCU. This was another college flick, and it was done in its own kind of way. I think there were some funny portrayals, there were some funny acting in this, but I kind of, having watched it a second time, it does its job well enough, but I'm not the biggest fan.
Maybe part of it for me, the person who wrote this book, Bret Easton Ellis, like I've read all of his books, and I'd read the book before the movie, and I really enjoyed the book, and the book is way better than the movie. Like I think the movie is good, but I think the book's just way better, and it's how, you know, these characters have tied, some of them have tied into, you know, some of his other works. Dawson, I can't think of his real name. Yeah, James Van Der Beek's character.
Just call him the fucking Dawson from here on out.
Holy shit, you're the Dawson!
James Van Der Beek.
His character is the brother of Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, which I think was a great movie and book, and it's interesting to see that. And
wait, so the characters from Psycho and this movie are related?
Yes.
Okay.
I had no
now
idea.
this I heard the character's name being Bateman. I thought Psycho, interesting. Okay, I did not make that connection.
Right.
That brings some more. I feel less agitated by this movie.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, some of these characters are referred to, and again in another one of his Bret Easton Ellis's books, Glamorama, Victor, the guy who goes to Europe or whatever, is mentioned. Lauren and Hind and Paul Denton are both mentioned. It's kind of like he's written these books that are the characters kind of intertwined, and some of them are about, this one was more about more of them and kind of their beginnings.
So I wish that they'd drawn some parallel there between the Batemans so that we would actually understand that. I mean, because that gives a little more context to this character's psychopathy.
That without that context, I see what appears to be overacting or just caricature style acting from James Van Der Beek, and just like this psychotic, lowered brow, kind of crazed look. I'm like, does he care about the acting in this movie? Is he just going over the top? And now, like, understanding that there's actually that context does change that for me. Here, you know, and doesn't. I'm still not necessarily the biggest fan of the movie, but it definitely fleshes it out and helps. So it's interesting to hear that this is literally a character who is related to a character in another story. That's really freaking cool.
Rock and roll.
I have mixed feelings about this movie. I think there's really cool parts of it. I think that it was shot in a really cool way. I think there's like so many cool shots in this. One of which being you have like the two characters walking down the hall towards each other, and it's the split shot until the shot finally combines. I don't know if I'd ever seen anything like that before. It was all new to me when I saw it back in 2002, 2003. You know, I definitely understand what you're saying. Like, yes, it's a college flick, but all those other movies that you mentioned, I mean, those are comedies, and there's definitely super fucked up aspects of this movie. Like, it opens with a girl getting date raped and puked on. Like, you know, those things aren't, like, maybe they're joked about in some of the other movies, but they're not blatantly a part of it,
like portrayed.
Yeah. And then, you know, then she just walks away from it like, that's just how I lost my virginity. And that's how she talks about it. Like, this is just how I lost my virginity. I woke up to some stranger, you know, riding me and barfing on me. So yeah, it's the college flick, but there's definitely the screwed up aspects. And then, yeah, like you're saying, Zach, it's very much about people trying to find themselves. The deep character, I mean, Ian Somerhalder, he's there the whole time trying to hook up with straight guys just because he's gay and he can't find anyone else that's gay, and so the whole time, like, he's just trying to find himself. And so that stuff was portrayed really well. But I remember watching this the first time and going, James Van Der Beek is trying to break a typecast right now.
Fucking car! Get out of my fucking car, you piece of shit! Get out! Yeah! Get out of my car!
The first time I watched this movie, it's the only thing that I could think, because he played the motherfucking Dawson, and he played, you know, whoever in Varsity Blues, and he was just this good-looking all-American kid. And so I watched this, and I'm just like, he is trying way too hard to do something else. And yes, it makes sense now that he was Bateman's brother, whatever, but I still don't think he's the right person for the role. It's still him just trying too hard to be that guy.
I mean, to me, like, maybe he overacted a little bit.
Define crazy.
But at the same time, I think he definitely tried to get the essence of that character in the book, was, you know, kind of definitely a jerk and just like this freeloader, but also just has these like weird ulterior motives and like weird way of thinking, and it came through for me. It didn't seem like overacting. I definitely did think he was like, trying to break typecasting or whatever, but it didn't feel like too overly done to me.
The challenge with Van Der Beek is I don't know him from Dawson's Creek, and I don't like what I know him from is from the TV series Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23.
Oh, that's a great show.
Where he plays literally himself as a character in that movie, and he plays a caricature of himself as himself. It's hilarious how he does it in that TV series. And then just kind of like, that's where I know him from, so I've got that comparison to this, and then, you know, just blank slate, it does seem kind of wonky. But having, you know, hearing about the books and that these characters go on to become parts of other stories down the line. That changed, you know, now that we have that piece to work with, my attitude towards the movie can shift a little bit. I don't necessarily have to be so resentful. It's not necessarily that bad, understanding that there's some more to go into this. It's not just a one-off. There's little things about the movie that I found amusing and it kind of cutesy. But we can
Such as what, Johnny?
I think so. One of the funniest parts I found in this, we have a cameo from Fred Savage. He shows up. He's
such a good cameo.
High on heroin. He is only wearing his underpants, playing a clarinet, and he uses his belly button as a cigarette holder. And I was like...
And screams, I can feel my dick.
It's just like, how is he going to get his money? Well, here's your one-off shot of Vanderbeek's character trying to get his money from a customer who is stoned out of his mind and cannot help him and is completely useless. And I was just like, Fred Savage. I was like, is that Fred Savage? I went looking, it's Fred Savage. What's he? And we never see him again. And then I'd have to give it to Faye Dunaway for her Christopher Walken lookalike. That was spot on with the hair and the high collar and just like I couldn't not see Christopher Walken in that scene. Russell Sam, he looks like he had the most fun playing his scene as what's his name?
Richard.
My name is not Richard.
Oh, well then what is it?
Dick.
What?
Dick. You heard me.
Steals the show.
Yeah,
best part of the whole movie.
Like he gets what, 5 minutes screen time maybe, and it's just like it is one of these just manic, crazed interactions and awkwardness throughout the entire scene.
Oh yeah, Richard's part is from the trailer. Like when this movie came out, is why I went to see the movie in the first place. Like them showing him in the trailer, and like the mom walks in and goes, "You're drinking, drunk." Like just his whole everything, you know, the ridiculousness when they go to dinner.
How is school?
It sucks cock.
And he's just there being a rich, spoiled, very openly gay brat. He's fucking hilarious, and he just steals the show.
One of the other moments I kind of wanted to talk about that's kind of like a fun moment, I think, in it, and there's a little backstory here too, where the character Victor, who goes to Europe, they have that little montage or whatever where he's doing all the things. So apparently him and Roger Avery, the guy who directed the movie, went to Europe and made this like basically a full-on movie of all these things that he did in Europe, and it's called Glitterati, which is supposed to happen in between they're canonically it'd be like in between that and Glamorama, which is the book that's about him, and they've never released it, and apparently it's got like some crazy footage in it that they just refuse to release. It's been like shown at like film festivals, like one-offs, like 3 or 4 times. Like that's all that's seen it. And
it's literally, you literally had to be there at the film showing, and that's it. You'll never see it. Wow, that's like Bigfoot. My God.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, like it's only been shown a few times, and I've tried to get my hands on it, and I've never been able to. And you know, I'd like to see what's there, but like I still think like that whole montage was just really cool, and it was shot so much differently than the rest of the movie to kind of portray Europe or whatever, I guess. But I don't know, I thought that was kind of a fun scene.
Yeah, well, it's fun that it's like his story that he's telling to his friends, and so they come out of it, and he's sitting there at the diner with his friends, and like, and that's how I spent my summer.
Rapid fire through all these details. It was so manic.
I wandered around trying to get laid until it started to rain, then went back to Home House. Ministry of Sound is dead, so I go to Rim Form, but it's game night. I find the one hetero girl in the place and we dry hump on the dance floor. We cab it back to Home House. I strip her clothes off, suck her toes, and we fuck.
There were so many, and again, yes, it's a college movie, and there's the fun party parts of the college movie, there's just like really heavy subject matter in here too. You know, as far as the relationships and the college kids, you know, fucking stuff up and again trying to figure themselves out. But like the girl, you watch her like.
It was disturbing. Like
that was a little.
If we want to put kind of trigger warnings out there, like this is one of those things. Through the whole movie, graphic. There's a whole tempo and feel to this movie. There's almost like this subdued comedy, and they are talking about these absurd interactions between the students and between some of the teachers, and it's just like, and then you've got this like side, boom. I'm like, I forgot this scene. That was devastating. Like that was one of those like rip your heart out kind of moments. Like, oh god, it was heavy. Like it went from like decaf to espresso. It got really dark and sad. It was like a really harsh pivot.
The movie opened with date rape, so I don't know what kind of decaf you're drinking.
I don't know, man. I just
But I like how they tied that in. It wasn't just like a suicide out of nowhere. I mean, it was the girl that's writing the love notes to whatever his name is.
Yeah, it's like it goes with the theme of, you know, trying to understand like what love is, and you know that's what she thought it was writing these letters to this guy that barely even notices her, and you know, and then it leads her to take these drastic actions. You know, there's a line, the Dawson is talking to the main character or the other main character, Lauren, and he's like, yeah, just because I slept with her doesn't mean I don't love you.
Right.
And it's like, oh geez. And then she's like later, like she's like, no one will ever know anyone, you know, and then that's like a real kind of sad way to look at love. And I think it was interesting that, you know, the suicide was pretty graphic, but it also, I think, served a purpose, and that's in showing that that's how she like perceived what love was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was one of those, like, as I'm watching it the second go around, that was something, like, pieces started coming back to me, and I started noticing the scenes, like, once we get to that scene where this girl ends up herself, and they snap back to all of these scenes where the camera, you see it in the main movie. Like, we pan past all of these scenes, and it's almost like subliminal messaging. It's like that big aha moment. It's like, oh, it's that person. It's like, there's also in this movie a lot of moments where people are not being clear and concise about what they want and what they need. And it's kind of this life lesson, like, she never, like, signed her letters. She never made it clear who she was. She was making it a guessing game.
Oh, and secret admirer.
The secret admirer kind of thing. And I, you know, not to knock secret admiring, but like, that's tough because there's Bateman making assumptions about who it is and totally missing the mark. And it's not just that interaction between those characters. You see the same thing happening throughout the entire movie, between multiple characters, where we're trying to, like, no one's being point blank about their intentions or what they actually want. Because here's your life lesson, like, be direct, like, say what you mean, because it matters. And it's kind of like there are some really drastic portrayals of what the consequences can be for that. And
but kids that age usually don't. They're usually not clear and concise. There usually is all kinds of games, like over dramatized portrayal, but of kind of how things actually go, just with a bunch of rich kids versus, you know, everyone else.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of left me a little, that piece of it was like, I felt a little jaded about that one. It's like, okay, so this is even like in the film description is talking about these overprivileged, well-to-do students doing all these insane things. Is I don't know, I guess I went in with some unfair level of apathy for the kind of context of the movie. So I just being a little judgy. That's on me. I'll own it. I can own that.
But they have the comparison in the sides too. So they have her side where it's just like, it's this obviously thought out, I'm madly in love, whatever thing. And then they have Bateman's attempted to where he was just like in lust and so upset over his like fucking up himself that he goes back and himself, you know, in a hurry. There's no note, there's no nothing. It's just like, fuck.
Phone cord, there's a hook. Let's see what happens. And it's
right. But it's just this manic passion, you know, like, oh shit, well, I'm just gonna do this now.
I don't even know. I wouldn't even call it passion. Manic is probably just it. It's just like it's manic. Manic tendency is just whatever, and then he goes and plays with the fun blood and definitely doesn't read the room.
Gotcha.
You're so sad.
Yeah, there's so much that Bateman's character is oblivious to throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about Clifton Collins as Ruppert.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. It was pretty crazy, and I remember when I saw the trailer for this movie, they showed him laying in his bed with the fake blood, but you didn't know it was fake. And I just assumed the whole movie, I was like, this Ruppert guy's gonna kill him. I was like, Dawson's gonna catch a bullet, and that never happened. But like, the Ruppert character was, I don't know, like, definitely, like, in my opinion, like, your stereotypical, like, coked up drug dealer. You know, I thought it was a funny, I thought he was good, and I thought it was funny. And you know, that scene where they go in and try to steal some coke, and you know, a machete comes out, and that scene was just crazy. Yes. Like, it got out of control fast.
That escalated quickly. Yeah.
Well, yeah, stereotypical drug dealer with his stereotypical Jamaican drug dealer with him.
Yeah, I was like, I caught that. I was like, I feel like, where have I seen this guy before? I've done a couple of things. I saw him in Star Trek. He's done some other stuff.
He was in Westworld, though.
It was probably the stereotypical drug dealer, but this is like, he's quoting off some army loyalty kind of stuff, and he's like really intense the whole time. And then his drug dealing friend from Jamaica seems really chill, yes, until that machete comes out, and then it gets really crazy. My disbelief kind of came in and took the reins a bit. And Bateman's character is wandering around campus with a bottle of Jack. Just whatever. I'm fine. Jack Daniels. Cross campus. I'm old. I went to college. This time frame. This time setting. That's like, I don't remember people walking around campus with bottles of booze.
Well, it happens at rich people college, okay?
Okay,
Yeah.
I guess at Camden it happens.
I feel like it's definitely like exaggerated, but like, I think it's supposed to exaggerate like the kind of hedonistic ways or lives that these people are living, and that's definitely a theme throughout Bret Easton Ellis's books is that kind of lifestyle, and it's always a little bit exaggerated or whatever in those books and in the stories. Like, especially like in American Psycho, there's a lot of, you know, kind of exaggeration on the stuff he does, I guess.
Based on what you're telling us, there's a lot of loose ends in the movie from the book that really add context to what's going on in the film.
Yeah, because the film is definitely a condensed version of the book. In the book, everything's kind of explained out a little bit better. He talks about his brother, and you know, and if you've seen or if you've read American Psycho or seen it, you know, you'll recognize that. And it's one of my favorite books. It's one of the ones I read every year.
Okay, so that, like, hearing that and understanding that end of this movie, that does change things up a lot for me.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh man, I definitely want to talk about that movie. I was like, I've read all of Bret Easton Ellis' stuff. I've seen this movie a bunch of times. I've read the book a bunch of times. Like, I'm in.
Then here I show up as some rube who's like, this movie, meh.
Another thing I did want to bring up in this movie is the soundtrack. Soundtrack was done very, very well.
Yeah.
Like, for each scene, there were so many big songs in this movie, and they just matched them up perfectly for each scene. It was just done so well. And going back scene, I can't live if living is without you. And so that's playing, and then as like she starts bleeding out, like it starts distorting and going away until she dies. I'm like, wow, that was just I mean, it was that way through every major scene in the film. There was some perfect song that just went along with the scene. And that, you know, I'll put in the same kind of category as just the shots, the way it was filmed. Like, it was filmed in such a cool way with all these different split shots and mixing shots and stuff that they were doing. I would say cinematically, this movie was done very well.
And I think that comes from Roger Avery working with Quentin Tarantino on Pulp Fiction. You get some of the nonlinear storytelling that they do in this movie, and I can see same style going on, you know, when it, and I love how you see different scenes from different people's perspectives. You know, it rewinds and then comes back and does it again. Like, I think that's going. I definitely kind of see some of the trademark Quentin Tarantino stuff from like Pulp Fiction in this movie. Okay,
so I didn't realize that he had literally done work with Tarantino, because that was a kind of vibe that I did notice, and it was like that's this kind of telling stories backwards, starting with like the conclusion at the beginning, and then they go to do a full back to the rewinds, and then they do a full backtrack all the way. That style is cool, to be able to start, kind of move the dial around and bring it full circle. That's cool to do. I didn't realize Avery had worked with Tarantino directly to make have that kind of influence.
And I did love that at the beginning, how they rewind the shots to reintroduce you to each new character, and then at the end show them at that party and what's happening, and them passing each other, you know, and how they all interact at the end of that. The only thing I didn't understand, Bateman leaves at the end of the movie, and at the beginning he goes and he screws Kate Bosworth's character, who Kelly, but you don't even ever learn that. Like, Kate Bosworth is such a small part of this. Right. He's just the girl that, or she's just the girl that he goes and hooks up with. So,
see, the way that I read that was like, when it showed him going off with Kate Bosworth, like, he was like weighing his options and what his decision in that moment would be, and I felt like that was him thinking about doing that, and it makes you think he did it, and then in the end it turns out he just didn't do anything.
Oh, so it wasn't even like an alternative reality thing. It was just this was a daydream.
That's how I read it. Okay. Like, he was thinking about like how that would play out. And, you know, I think that was another interesting, like, look at, like, his idea of, like, what love is or whatever. And it's kind of his MO. It's the manipulation, you know. He's like, I'm going to act real sincere. I'm going to pretend like I'm kind of nervous and drop my keys. I'm going to play some acoustic guitar and, you know, and we'll make love or whatever. And he's really just looking to hook up.
Yeah, definitely a lot of just straight college stuff in here. The guitar playing... everyone getting people back to their room by saying they have pot. That seemed to be a theme throughout the movie. I've got pot in my room if you want to go. And everyone's like, oh, you got pot? Let's go to your room.
Yeah, I have some pot in my room if you want to smoke and get stoned. You have pot in my room? Yeah. Let's go.
That was definitely not my college experience.
Come on, Johnny.
It was boring. Super boring. No one told me they had pot back in their room and invited me back. Sorry. I can't relate.
But definitely the drug dealing, right? Yeah, I knew it, Johnny. The Deep's character, Ian Somerhalder, you know, the Deep from The Boys, if you guys have watched it yet. It's this movie was full of people who I see and I'm like, I want to call them things from past or present. Also kind of rapey in this movie a little bit. But it's interesting because the person who he approached, who was actually kind of the kindest to him, was Vanderbeek, was the Dawson.
Yeah.
But
it was
the
like
other
a mutual
guys,
using of each other, I felt like.
A little bit, but, you know, and thinking about it now, the other guys both also kind of had a gay vibe to him. So the first guy that like kicks him out of the room and punches him, he tells a whole story about how he becomes a queen a year later. And the other guy is so like, he's uncomfortable in a way that's like he is nervous that he might be gay or has gay thoughts or something.
Oh, Rookie of the Year guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Mitch. What's up? Not much. What's up with you? Not much. Can we talk?
American Pie guy. That's where
It is Thomas Ian Nichols.
Yeah. And so he has a discomfort in a way that he like, you know, I might be gay, but just so fuck you, man. Get away from me.
Yeah, get away from me.
Like Vanderbeek is just so secure in his like, you know, and it shows in the shots, like their inner monologues when Paul's like has these deep thoughts about Bateman and all these things and
and then Bateman's character is all really superficial and what he's thinking about like completely unrelated.
Yeah, I need to get pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to get
at the bus station when he's leaving, he's like, who writes questions in a letter?
Yeah, it was just so he was almost like indifferent to, and that's funny like how his indifference towards these advances by Ian's character just created that misconception again, coming back to this idea like not being point blank, and understandably the time frame this movie's taking place in this, it's challenging to be kind of being point blank about your personal sexual preferences when it's not mainstream. There's friction to be had there, so that's not going to be an easy interaction to just say that. But the idea being that Sean Bateman's indifference to what's happening around him because he's really just kind of self-absorbed translates into potential interest, like under the radar kind of stuff for the Paul Denton character.
Right.
That was kind of like a perfect setup for that miscommunication. And that we see the daydreaming that goes on there is like another one of those split shots where he's kind of like, we see reality on one side and the daydream on the left. I'm like, all right.
And what was that reality, Johnny? What was happening in that reality?
Do you want that reality? Pillows have seen better days. Just gonna say.
Artfully dodged.
And they cut over to, oh, he's passed out. That's how you get away with it. Now I get it.
Well, yeah,
right.
that's the one I was wondering about when you first start seeing the pillow seeing better days.
Yeah, that's
how is he getting away with that with him in the room right there? And then you see he's passed out.
The dude's right there. The dude's literally passed out.
And then they wake up and watch porn.
He borrows, like, I'm borrowing these CDs. Which one? Doesn't even matter. Just takes the CDs and like, oh my god.
Borrowing this. Yep. But Paul Denton turns it back on after he leaves the room, which was interesting. Any further thoughts, gentlemen?
I think technically Bateman dies at the end.
You think so?
It's just the way they cut it. I could see it happening. Like, he's on his motorcycle, it's snowing, it's slick, and he's talking, smash cut, credits, done. Like,
it doesn't finish the sentence.
What happened there? So I think he died. I think Bateman's character is dead at the end of this movie. We just don't know.
It kind of leaves it open, and I will say he's not mentioned again in the other books.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I
think left open in the books too.
I take that back. I think somebody mentioned they had bought drugs for him or something, but other than that, like, his character doesn't continue on in other stories.
Interesting.
You may be onto something, Johnny.
Yeah.
I think there was an unfortunate motorcycle accident that we didn't get to see. And the whole time the movie's just told from his perspective, and it's all just one daydream on his part.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Johnny Mulligans, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on the Twitters at CMDR_Hamilton. You can also find me skulking around the Cult of Film video archives here and there, and that's where you can find me.
And Zach, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Z4CK38, and you can find me on the Commander Social podcast on Wednesdays. You can get wherever you get your podcasts.
And you can find me at Coleman Yeti on Instagram and Twitter, on the channel Cascade Backcountry every once in a while, and right here on the Cult of Film, where will John the host be back? Will he not? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll resurrect him, but I hope not. God. I want to see where he's coming from.
This be a floating head.